Okay, so once you guys get to this stage, you've got your plan, you've drawn it out on the project black paper. What I want you to do is sit and look at it. I want you to remember the directions I gave you today verbally, and it's written on Classroom in case you don't remember. The inside of the letters have to be analogous colors. So that means analogous just means they have to be next to each other on the color wheel. So you need to take a look at the color wheel. I will post one on Classroom, and you need to pick 3 colors that are next to each other. So I showed you the 2 examples I had. On the dragon one, it was blue, violet, and then violet. Blue, blue, purple, purple. And then on the kindness one I did, it was yellow, yellow, orange, and orange. So I'm going to pick something different for hope, for the word hope, but I'm still going to make it analogous because I know that inside here has to be analogous colors. What I want you guys to think about is what colors will look good together. And the way to plan that out, if you turn your paper over, I already skipped ahead and did this stage for you so that you could just see. So I've decided that the analogous colors I'm going to do inside the word are going to be red, red, violet, and violet. Because I haven't done that yet. And I want the 3D part to be that teal or greenish blue color and light blue. And I went and decided to do the force field light blue and dark blue mixed together. And remember, you have to have blending in all of these parts. There's 4 different parts of your drawing. You have to have blending in all of them. And I'm going to do my bricks. I'm going to be different this time around. I'm going to do black and white for the bricks. Okay, I probably will do a color in between for the mortar, but I haven't decided that yet. I'll decide that later. But for these 4 parts, I want you to write it out on your paper, and I actually want you to try the colors and see what you think they're going to look like together. It's good to have these little visuals, okay? I want everyone to do this. I'm actually going to turn your papers over and make sure that you did this step, okay? So, when you go to actually start coloring, I'm just gonna, by the way, there's 2 different reds in these oil pastels. The darker red doesn't show up as well on this paper. The lighter red shows up better. It's up to you. You might like the darker red, but I'm gonna use the lighter red. When you do this, your colors are going to kind of blend together. You're gonna start at the top of your word, and you're gonna make that color go all the way across the word. And I'll show you what I mean. And then it's gonna blend to the middle color in the middle, and then the darker color at the bottom, or the 3rd color at the bottom. It doesn't matter if you go light to dark or dark to light. So I'm gonna start with the red at the top. And remember, like I said, I'm just gonna do analogous colors inside the word. There has to be blending. You shouldn't see much of the black paper through the oil pastels. You should be able to cover it up. Okay. When you're gonna blend though, when you're gonna make those colors blend to each other, you can actually give a little bit light, a light section of the red so it blends nicer. Okay. And by the way, you're gonna do this across your whole word. So each letter of the word is gonna be the same process. Okay. All right. So it should be about even when you end that red. And now we're going to start bringing in the red violet, or in your oil pastels, it's the color that's like in between this light purple and this dark purple. Okay. If you're not sure, you can always ask me. I don't know. Remember, when you blend, you have to overlap the colors. Okay. So I'm not just going to have 3 strips of colors. I want them to blend together. So I'm going to overlap into my red a little bit for each letter. Each color, when you start to blend it, it should line up or kind of match across the word, okay? You don't have to press hard. I would give it like medium pressure, but also try to cover the black so you don't see the black paper going through. All right, and then I'm gonna extend this red, purple, red, violet down a little bit because I want it to blend in with my purple. So I'm gonna take that down a notch. You can cover up your pencil marks nicely with the oil pastels. Overlap those colors, blend them in. Remember, you don't want it to look like a stripe. You don't want it to look stripey. You want this actually to look like it's just blending, melting together, blending. Okay? You can even go back if you need to and get that red and just make it a little bit. You can go over the purple a little more so it blends together a little more smoothly. Okay. Okay, bring that red, purple, red, violets. I'm doing this fast. I don't expect you guys to do it this fast. I'm just doing it so that, you know, this video is not 3 hours long. You guys take your time, okay, when you're doing this. Because I want you to take a step back every so often to look and make sure that your letters are actually the same color across the board. And sometimes you need to stop and look. Like all the tops of my word are red, all the middles are this red violet. I'm blending nicely. All right, I think we're ready for the violet at the bottom. Okay, so remember, overlap the red, violet, and the violet so that they kind of blend in together, they melt together. You don't want to have stripes. You don't want a strip of red, violet, and a strip of purple. You want, or strip of violet, you want it to look like they are literally changing colors as you look down the word. Okay? And remember, inside the word is the only one that has to be analogous. Everything else, when you go to do your 3D, it should be the opposite. So obviously I'm using, it kind of goes warm to cool, but the opposite to me, if you look at the color wheel and look at what's across the color wheel, like there's greenish and that teal is across from red. I feel like you need to look at the opposite end of the color wheel. Remember, I'll post that. And that will make this word pop more if you use the opposite of the color wheel. So obviously I've got, it goes kind of warm to cool. But if you look at the colors I chose something that's basically across the color wheel from red and orange. This green and this teal, okay? All right, blending. That's why I kind of want you to sit and spend a little time figuring out what you think colors will look nice together. And if you put little swatches of them, how you're gonna blend them on the back, you can almost kind of picture what it's gonna look like on the project itself. You may even change your mind after looking at those colors together and say, no, that doesn't really look that good. Don't overthink it, but I do want you to put a little time and thought into making those artistic choices. All right, so we got the analogous colors done. So this red, I feel like it needs to be a little, you can go back over the red and make it a little deeper if you want. I don't like how there's still some of the black paper showing through. So when you do the second, if you go back over stuff, you want to go lightly, because if you press hard, it's just going to remove the oil pastel from the paper. And by the way, if you make a mistake, you can actually scratch off the oil pastels a little bit. Like if you use your fingernail or you get like a butter knife or something, you can scrape it off if you make a mistake. Or you can just color over it, blend it in, that works too. But like I said, if you're gonna try to brighten things up, you want to use a very light pressure. If you press hard on the oil pastel that's already on there, it's just gonna remove it. All right, so now that we've got that part done, this is why you have to make sure that your word has a 3D part to it. So if you forgot that, make sure you go back and put it in, because that's the next step. There's basically four parts of this assignment. The actual letters, they have to be analogous. You've got to pick the opposite of color scheme for the 3D. And let's look back here. I like to have this, in case you forget, you have this little key in the back. I decided to do light blue and teal mixed together for the 3D. So sticking with, I went from light to dark. I'm going to do the same thing for the 3D. Same thing, you're going to want to make sure it's the same across the whole word. Another thing about oil pastels that you guys probably have to get used to is that you're not going to have exactly, it's going to be a little, like you're not going to have perfectly straight lines. Okay, so some of you might get annoyed by that. It's okay. Do the best that you can. I mean, remember, I've had a lot of practice with this, so My lines might look a little different. Just because I'm used to it. Okay. But even my lines, if you look closely, they are not perfectly straight lines. Okay, I think I'm gonna add a little bit of a, I think I need another color at the bottom of this to blend. So I'm gonna go ahead and maybe add a little bit. Let me check my color scheme again, make sure. Yeah, so I already got blue here, so maybe I will just go with green. Maybe I'll do a little green at the bottom of this one. I feel like I need something. I think green will look good. Do you see how if you pick the opposite of the color wheel, the colors that are like on the other side of the color wheel, how it makes this word pop out more? That's the look you're going for, okay? All right, so now let's bring that green in. Whoops, green. Blend. Blending, blending. All right. Okay, so whatever you do, you're gonna do that across the whole board, just like you did with the letters. You're gonna do the 3D across the board too. I'm gonna go back and blend this a little bit more. Get rid of some of those white spots. I mean, sorry, black paper spots. All right, if your oil pastel gets a little past your lines here, don't worry about that because you're going to come back and do this whole force field anyway. So don't obsess about things being perfectly neat in the lines, especially if you're going to come back later. Like I'm going to do, what is my force field? My force field's going to be blues. I might actually get rid of this light blue for the force field just because I already used it inside here. Maybe I'll just start with the blue and just make it darker as we go down. See, that's why planning helps, because you can actually start visualizing things. Again, I don't want you guys to go as fast as I'm going. I'm going fast just for the video purposes. I want you to take your time. Okay, I'm gonna stop here. I'm going to finish this, but I'm gonna do a hyperlapse video so you don't have to sit here and watch me do this entire thing. That's just boring even under the best circumstances. So, you get the idea. You plan it out. When you start doing it, it needs to go across the word. It needs to look like you're blending. It's not strips of color that you're doing. They're not stripes across. You are blending, okay? Again, everything I've just said, I typed up and put on Classroom as well. I'm going to put this video up on Classroom, and I will see you guys all tomorrow.